The Wall Street Journal carried the announcement of Australia's May 18 poll with the rather cruel headline "Australia to pick its next leader, with an election." It was a sharp reminder, if anyone needed one, of how appalling federal politics has been, and what it looks like to outsiders, as well as to the local voters who will soon register their judgment. This election is Bill Shorten's to lose, if you take the long trend of opinion polls, and what the public predict when asked who'll win. But the campaign over the coming weeks can be crucial, and Scott Morrison is a ferocious and desperate fighter. Labour's strengths are also its weakness. Mr. Shorten starts in a strong position. The coalition has been a shambles through much of the parliamentary term. Get key political stories and analysis straight to your inbox, including special election coverage from Annabelle Crabb. By signing up, you agree to receive updates from the ABC. View privacy policy. The Liberals executed a Prime Minister, a Nationals leader executed himself. The government has few significant achievements except same-sex marriage, to which it was dragged. Labour has a coherent narrative and an extensive suite of well-developed policies. But those policies, including on negative gearing, franking credits, and climate change, are Labour's weakness too. Video: here's how Vote Compass helps you understand your place in the political landscape. ABC News, what do the numbers say? Government and opposition begin this contest with nearly equal numbers. After the redistribution, the coalition has a notional 73 House of Representative seats and Labour 72, with 6 crossbenchers. 76 seats are required to win government in the new 151-member House. The closeness of the numbers means the coalition, in minority government when the term ended, must win seats to survive. It has hopes in a scattered handful of Labour seats, including Herbert in Queensland and Lindsay in NSW. The Liberals may win back Malcolm Turnbull's old seat of Wentworth, which independent Karen Phelps took in the by-election, if former Liberal voters have got over their fury at the coup and look to a potential future high-flyer in Liberal candidate Dave Sharma. Another possible coalition gain could be Indy, where independent Cathy McGowan's bid to pass her mantle to an independent successor may be too ambitious. But against the government's few prospects, its outlook in Victoria is bleak and it has many marginals in Queensland. Several Liberal seats are at risk in Western Australia. The Nationals' seat of Cooper could go to a recycled independent, former MP Rob Oakeshott. An election fought on a strong economy, but also empathy. If the coalition pulled this election out of the fire, its victory would surely be narrow, even a hung parliament, not a prospect many voters would relish. Mr. Morrison is framing the battle as centrally about economic management, recalling Labour's deficits, casting forward to ALP tax hikes. He has drawn on John Howard 2004 trust pitch, asking who do you trust to deliver that strong economy which your essential services rely on? His reply, when asked on Thursday about Labour's fairness theme, that under a Liberal nationalist government, we will always be backing in those Australians who are looking to make a contribution not take one, was jarring, and reminiscent of Joe Hockey's lifters and leaners. Mr. Morrison will persistently exploit Mr. Shorten's unpopularity. If you vote for me, you'll get me. You vote for Bill Shorten and you'll get Bill Shorten. Labour sources claim people's reservations about Mr. Shorten are already factored into the vote. Mr. Shorten says, "It's not about me and it's not about him," which of course it is. A short, rough campaign. Mr. Shorten is tapping into a rich vein of grievances, over flat wages and the high cost of living. His mantras are fairness, a united team, and the contrast between looking to the future versus being stuck in the past. He has made Labour's pitch on health, its traditional strength, very personal for people, with his big-ticket promise to slash costs for cancer sufferers. Compared with 2016, this will be a short campaign, 38 days to 56 days. And it will be rougher, as the coalition runs heavily negative and reaches for every weapon. On the other side, Labour will benefit from the freneticism of Get Up, which has many government MPs in its sights and a target of making 1 million phone calls. And the unions have money and manpower. Mr. Turnbull campaigned badly, and the government was lucky to survive last election. The former Prime Minister's hyped language, innovation, agile, ideas boom, age of excitement, was a tune to the future but a turn off in many parts of the country. Mr. Morrison has to be wary of falling into the opposite trap, sounding old-fashioned, out of sync with public opinion and the rush of technology. The skepticism of sections of the coalition about renewables has damaged the government. The misrepresentation and demonization of Labour's target of having electric cars form 50% of new car sales by 2030 is likely to be counterproductive. After the airing of past quotes from ministers praising electric cars, and maybe some focus groups, the attacks shifted gears slightly. Australians love renewables and believe electric cars are the way of the future, that it's just a matter of when they become cheap enough. The coalition will get nowhere by appearing to stand in the way of progress. The courtyard versus the backyard. Both sides are struggling with the imperatives of geography in this election. Adani epitomizes the dilemma. This week the Morrison government signed off on another approval stage of the proposed coal mine, a good message to Central and North Queensland, a bad one to Victorian Liberal seats where climate change resonates. Likewise, Labour has its own problem dancing along the Adani tightrope. The controversial project will stalk the campaign. In announcing the May 18 date on Thursday, Mr. Morrison spoke in his prime ministerial courtyard. A few hours later, Mr. Shorten made his opening statement from the home of an everyday Australian family in the Melbourne suburb of Mitcham. A beginning that will be long forgotten when the campaign reaches its exhausted end after 5 weeks of trench warfare. Michelle Groudon is a professorial fellow at the University of Canberra and chief political correspondent at The Conversation, where this article first appeared.